So for me, I'm looking at more of a 12, 13,000 ultimate bottom on Bitcoin. Before I even put anything in my limit orders for a buy or anything, let me first come up with my game plan, right? So let me think about, well, what is my thesis for getting in this trade here? Why am I liking it? Is it because it's fallen dramatically and we're into the 2017 highs? That's a valid technical factor, double or pivot high from 2017. And then also, once you have a firm thesis, and it should be something where, like, envision that you have to go before the board, right? The board of a thesis, topic for a college or a university, and you have to defend that thesis. If someone says, well, why did you pick that level? You can't be like, well, Twitter said it was a good level, right? So you have to have, like, well, 2017 high, I saw the RSI was doing this. I had to, there should be like 3 things that make a firm case for doing it. Once you have that, then you start saying, okay, well, even with those, fear is the biggest emotion that we have, fear and greed. I understand that price can go a little bit below my level. So let me decide what's my total investment in dollars before I even do a trade, before I enter anything. What am I going to put in this position totally? And then you say, okay, do I want to do just a quarter here to start it? Because then if you do a quarter, like we were talking about with the 1/6 position that I did, there's really no stress. And you're not going to get affected. Like when it breaks the 2017 highs, you don't want to be in a full position, get stressed, and then be like, oh my God, I got to get out because this could go to 12,000. That's too big of a loss to me. You have to be in that position to say, you know what? I'm only in a quarter position, or I'm only in a 6th position. No big deal. I'll just pick up a little bit more every 1,000 or 2,000 down to put myself in that position. And being stress-free in trading is so liberating. It makes you think so clearly. And so again, it's just about the thesis, knowing your total investment exposure that you're going to go to, and then understanding how much of a percent of that you'll start in at what levels. In terms of knowing how long the bear market can last, I think the only thing we can do is look at past bear markets. At the same time, keep an asterisk near this one because it's different from the last ones, meaning the Fed is obviously tightening aggressively. Inflation is above 2%, much above. But since Bitcoin's been around, it's really been 2% or under inflation, at least reported. So you have these different things. But really, if you look at past cycles, it's been about 12 to 18 months that it takes for it to kind of bottom out. And then you kind of see what you really start to look for. And you can see here. So we had this initial drop, then a lot of chop. And by the way, for me, this is kind of where I think we are in Bitcoin. So this is 2017. My guess is we're kind of right in this area here, right? We just bottomed out. We're going to kind of do this. And then I think you might just get that one last dip, which will be the bottom level. This will kind of flush people out, that final flush that'll occur. But really what you can see here is you traded sideways for a long period of time before that last, and it was a beautiful rounded bottom. And again, there's not going to be anything you're going to be able to find that's going to be like, aha, this is 100% a bottom. But it's more just, again, saying, okay, we have a rounded bottom, and then you start seeing, okay, once you start taking out some of these former levels, like to me, that would be something that I would watch, is this was a very, very keen level. Once we got above there, notice how Bitcoin really got some serious upside action. I can retest it later on, absolutely. Right here, you retested it, but it quickly recovered again and got back above that level. But again, things like rounded bottoms, cup and handle patterns, little things like that, and taking out former support that are now resistance levels, those would be things that I would look for when it finally bottoms out, plus the emotional kind of capitulatory, free, panic, oh my goodness, is Bitcoin going to survive type mentality. I think you have to pay attention to the signals you're seeing. I think any trader pays attention to the technicals, right? So if you're getting those same signals, then in the very least, it's giving you bullish signals. And I think knowing you'll monitor those signals, and if they start to shift, then you'll be on point and be able to react. But I think you're doing the right thing, which is following those signals. Like I said, me starting to inch in my HODL position, that's also something that you want to pay attention to as well, where I'm clearly saying that, yes, we haven't seen the flush out, but you also have to say, well, slowly Bitcoin is being adopted more and more. So maybe that's why we don't see that full flush out on crypto, is that, more and more people globally are opening, wallets and getting involved. I think that regulation is going to be something that's absolutely key and a very big positive. I saw Gary Gensler on CNBC today. He was talking about trying to protect investors and how crazy it is. And I think that's right. I mean, a year or two ago, people were like, oh, don't let the SEC get close to crypto. But I think after this, when people see that they may lose all their money that was in Celsius or Three Arrows Capital or all the other things like that, I mean, there needs to be some sort of kind of safety measures put in where you can't have some shady stuff going in. And again, with those regulations, if we get those, that would actually, I think, be a very big positive, because there's a lot of big money, like pension funds and all these other things, that they won't go near crypto until there's a framework of safety, including older Americans. I think younger Americans and younger people globally are more into the risk-taking. They've grown up with crypto more so. But, I mean, there's trillions of dollars of retirees, and they're just not going to take that risk. And so if you can give them that framework where they say, okay, well, my money's, like FDIC insurance, it's guaranteed up to this amount. All right, now I feel a little bit safer in case there's fraud in one of these cryptocurrencies. So I think that, again, I think what you're seeing is absolutely valid, and it very well could be the case. I'm taking it from a little bit of the other perspective of like the .com era, where I still think there could be one, but I could be wrong. The point where I would actually join your crowd and say, okay, I think a low is in. So see this longer term trend line here. If we were to really establish ourselves above that and hold it, let's say, for a week or two and kind of consolidate, that's a longer term trend line where, for me, I'd start to say, okay, now we've taken that out. Now we're holding it. We just didn't pierce it by a day or two, but we're actually staying above it. That would make me into more of that side of saying, okay, this might have been the low at that point. And the beauty of this is it's a downsloping trend line, so it's going lower and lower every day. So in 2 months, this will be at 28,000. In 4 months, at 26. So the longer we stay here, the lower that bogey level gets for being able to shift the perspective of saying, okay, now for me at least, we're in this new bull market potentially with a lot of upside near term versus another dip to the downside. I think that you haven't seen enough of it. It bothers me that Michael Saylor, there hasn't been, it got down to 21,000. He then said, oh, my level's much, much lower. The markets almost tend to kind of squeeze those people, and it doesn't seem like MicroStrategy has been squeezed yet, or some of these other players out as well. And I still think there's far too many cryptocurrencies for a healthy market. So I'm a huge long-term bull on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I think it's the wave of the future, just like the internet was. But we haven't fully seen the internet collapse that we saw in 2000 replicated in crypto just yet.